Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Steve Rice of Kill Ritual to the program tonight. Steve, how you doing?
Good, man. Great, doing great, Lance.
Yeah, nice, nice. You got a nice evening going on out there in California?
Yeah, I mean, the sun's still up. It's it'll be dark here in about a half an hour, and the weather's well, for us in California, it's a little chilly. It's 59 degrees, so but yeah, I'm doing okay.
Cool.
Good.
Well, for us in Vermont for November 3rd, we're about at 59 degrees, and that's really warm for us.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I had the fun of waking up this morning and realizing that my heater doesn't work, so I got to deal with that tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
But
Yes, indeed. I'm going to try and get this the album title all out here in sort of one breath.
can you do it? Can you do
Kill,
it?
I'm going to try. I just want to make sure I'm reading it right too. Killstar, Black Mark, Dead Hand, Pierced Heart.
Yeah, that's it. You got it.
Tell us a little. I mean, I'm sure you've answered this a ton of times today. Can you tell us a little bit about this title for those who might not hear your other interviews?
We just wanted to make it as long and stupid as possible, just to make guys like yourself have to say that.
Okay.
It's like, oh my God, it's like, what's this guy Shakespeare? Is he writing a novel? No, it's just that particular tune. Just we decided to make that the title track, use it as the title of the record, and it just I don't know, just had a kind of like a kind of a cool little
Kind of a ring to it.
arty vibe to us. Where it's like, hey, you know what? Nobody really puts out records with titles that long. Let's just fuck with people and see what happens.
Exactly. Now, the other thing I'm a little confused about is on Massacre Records, I saw one release date as November 18th, and I saw that it was released October 28th. Is this in different parts of the world, or do I just have my
Correct.
facts
So
wrong?
in Europe, it came out this last Friday. So
Okay.
the European release was there, and they're just a couple weeks behind in North America and the rest of the world.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty common. I think that when they talk about a release in Europe, they're probably talking about Germany as being the main focus with,
Yeah.
with the German label. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So it's cool.
Yeah. Now, this follows up the Opaque and Divine and I Will Be Done
Right.
album and EP. You guys were busy through the whole COVID shutdown.
Yeah, we just we tried to stay busy because what else were we gonna do? I mean,
Right.
we could have been in rehab or spent all our money on subscription porn or something like that. But
Yeah, exactly.
but no, I mean, it was just a way for us to keep active and keep things alive. You're dealing with a bunch of guys, and we want to be productive. We want to write music. We want to play music.
Yeah.
So since we didn't have the avenue of playing, touring, we figured, hey man, let's just keep be productive, writing music while we wait for things to kind of start coming back together and clear up, so we can eventually reach the goal of going out, playing for people and doing that. So that's hopefully that's gonna happen here soon. As long as diesel gas doesn't cost $19 a gallon, I think we're good.
Yeah, it's crazy. What I like to say when a band takes a long time to release albums, you're working at sort of like a Boston pace, where you put out an
Right.
album every 7. You guys work more at like, say, a Prince pace. Prince was could put out an album a week just about.
Well, I think that both directions can you can come up with some great music both ways. But I tend to be pretty prolific when it comes to songwriting, so I will come up with music, and I just kind of I will demo it. I will I'll write it and put it together because I just like the energy of catching that that little flash of time and that little spark in the pan, and then we go from there, and we kind of select the tunes that end up being the best. But it's just the way that I am, and it just I just can't stop writing stuff. I just have a natural flow when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I just go with it, try not to question it too much.
Excellent. Some of this stuff goes back prior to Thy Will Be Done, a little bit of Opaque in here as well. Some of the tunes off of those, or tunes that didn't make those, or just
So
germs of ideas that came to fruition.
Yeah, so basically the when we finished the Opaque record, the stuff that's on the EP that Will Be Done EP, those are some tunes that were left over from the Opaque sessions, and then I just wrote a couple new tunes to kind of make the EP and flesh it out.
Yeah.
But basically, then again, everything that's on the latest album is just it's all brand new stuff that's
Okay.
was written, with that in mind.
All right, cool. Cover art, Nathan Thomas Milner. Great stuff. Did you guys sort of give him the idea, or did he come up with that all on his own?
Yeah, I kind of gave him a direction based upon the title tracks, in my mind, the lyrical concept. The lyrical concept for that song was, it was kind of a story. And actually we almost, thought about doing, making it a concept record based upon the story that I came up with. But then I was like, man, that's just way too much King Diamond, you know, too much into the whole concept record. And I just felt that it wasn't going to work. And I said, let's just do what's up. But anyways, I gave him the basic idea of what the concept behind the story was, and he just kind of went in that direction with the art. And it's pretty much spot on with what I wanted it to be. I mean, it has, it looks like it's, very, kind of dark and satanic, but it's more, to me, it's more like a horror movie poster. I wanted
Yeah.
it to seem like it was like, oh, if you saw this really cool horror movie as a kid and it had that on the poster, you'd be like, well, I definitely want to watch that movie. So that's
Right.
like, it was that idea.
Very cool. Andy LaRocque did the mix. Of course, he goes back to your Magica days. So you guys have a real comfortable relationship. He knows exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, we get along well. I mean, it's he knows exactly what I'm all about. I mean, I've been in his studio, a few times, and we've hung out a few times. And he knows. I mean, he actually has the same birthday as my wife.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's just weird. It's just like we have this like mutual respect and relationship, and I love King Diamond and Merciful Fate. I love that kind of stuff and the music. So it's very easy for us, to work together, and he gets what I'm doing. He knows where I'm coming from, so it's pretty simple.
Cool. Let's jump into some of the tracks. I, of course, got to listen to a copy of it, and watching. You put out 2 videos, By the Hand of God and The Horror of War. Any more
Right.
coming, say around album release time here in the States?
I really don't think so. I mean, we had the contract, and we had to do a lyric video and a video. I'm sure if the record is doing well enough, the label will say, hey man, let's try to pump out another video, and then we'll see how that happens. But as it is right now, it is what it is.
Cool. The video for By the Hand of God, Rafael Ortega did that one. I
Yeah.
really liked the image that really caught me as I was listening to the song and watching the video, was that light coming in the window right at the end, and the way the song faded down out of that.
Yeah.
I thought that was incredibly powerful.
Well, I mean, the song is what the song is really all about. The song is just, it kind of touches on the whole thing about, religion and, religious wars. And when I kind of wrote it in my mind, I had, a concept of like, the Crusades, and, how, Christians were killing, Muslims, and Muslims were, and they were killing Christians, how they both were fighting over, a place, the Holy Land, and how they both thought that they were right in what they were doing, and that their God was on their side, and that their God chose them to be the one that was going to be, victorious or whatever else. And then realizing that, what, you're going to die alone. You only have one life, and so maybe you chose wrong, and maybe you have to come up with that. When it's the end, you have to, reconcile with yourself that maybe it's not what you thought it was. Maybe it's just you're just being manipulated, controlled.
Wow. Cool stuff. The Horror of War, the thing that jumped out at me, was that I'm a guitar solo guy. The guitar solos were like blistering but melodic,
Right.
And the one lyric that really jumped out at me was, "Is there honor in death? Is there glory in hate?" It really gives you, something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. I mean, the 2 songs, By the Hand of God and The Horror of War, they're back to back for a reason, because they're kind of talking about similar concepts, and
Mhm.
it's just the horror war is basically about, how the glorification of war and the glorification of conquest is a tempting mistress. I mean, people just go like, hey man, it's going to be awesome. We're going to kill these. I mean, you see it so many times, how war and battle is glorified, but it's anything but.
Yeah.
And how she'll like, she'll sell you out, and it won't work out for you so well. So that's basically what the song's about. It is there glory in death? Is that really going to work out for you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's talked about so much in in human history, but is it right?
Right. Yeah. Seven Knives. I'm just reading off my notes here. Monster opening, freight train riff, and this is where I heard sort of a King Diamond vibe was in this song.
Oh yeah, there's definitely that. This song is just basically, just kind of changing up. Is basically kind of coming from the point of a, kind of like a sadistic serial killer type thing where he's and obviously you can tell the reference from, it's about, it's kind of like tied in with the movie Seven, where he's going to kill seven people
Mm,
for whatever his twisted reasons are, and it's coming from his perspective, and asking his next victim if well, it's just like, hey, I'm letting you know what's going on. Don't scream, but yeah, please scream, because that's what he gets off on. It's just that kind of fantasy type thing about that, without being too over the top. But yeah, it definitely has those, a little bit of King Diamond feel in some of the lyrical content, some of the vocal
I was
approaches.
gonna say the vocal delivery was where I heard,
Yeah, you kind of hear that, that kind of that evil, scream,
yeah,
that kind of stuff. Definitely a reference to that for sure.
yeah. Track 4, I Am the Night, my favorite track on the album.
That's cool. I mean, I've heard, it's like probably, that was one of the tunes that when I ended up writing that tune and putting that all together, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is one that's making a record. I almost wanted to dump that one off the record, but I just thought it was, it just was a needed break from the rest of the record, that it was going to be cool. And I love the chorus, because I just thought it was a good contrast between the kind of jazzy, melodic, kind of
Mhm. That was the other
versus
note. Excuse me, I'm stepping on your words. My daughter accuses me of that all the time. My other notes were fantastic mood, brilliant vocal. And there's that line in there, listen, I share your tears, fading light tonight. I am the night. Um, I sort of listened to this tune with my eyes closed, kind of creating my own video in my head. And to me, it took me up to a camp that my brother used to own up in the woods. And I could almost see the sunset going down and smell the wood smoke and everything to this track. It
right.
really took me away. It was fantastic stuff.
Oh man, that's cool, man. That's yeah. I just imagine it about like, how, you know, uh, there's I mean, what you're talking about, it's that weird part between dusk and night, where you just get that really sense of like, everything's changing. Go from daylight to dusk to night. It's like that. It's that weird feeling that you get sometimes when you're like you mentioned camping. I mean, that's a perfect analogy for me. It's like, I've been camping many times. It's like towards the evening, I just like going into that dusk to night type thing. And you're just gonna, and when you're camping, you go to bed pretty early, because there's really not much you can do besides sit around the fire. And you can only drink so much,
Right.
but
Yeah.
yeah. So
Exactly.
it has that aspect to it. It's just about how, night kind of like, you when you go to sleep, your mind tends to turn, and you tend to think about a lot of stuff and digest stuff, because your brain's trying to download your day.
Yeah.
And how about all those things are going on, and how about, that's what, the song's just about, kind of like just that little whispering in your ear, that little like, you think about important things, you try to like, figure out what's going on when you go to sleep.
Yeah. Definitely. The Smell of Death. Mano here says, tell us how you really feel. You're pissed.
That song's just about basically about addiction, man. It's just about people that have reached that level of where they're to the point where you can basically just like, when you deal with them, you can just tell they're just so toxic, and they're so, you
Yeah.
know reach that point where they are the smell of death, man. It's just like, man, you just reek of it. You just reek of like, deceit, lies, and bullshit, and
Yeah.
you're not doing anything that's positive, and it's you kind of reached your end, and how you're going to get out of that. I mean, the bridge talks about like, these, like, how they people feel like, that they're, I don't know, it's just like they feel like they're entitled to everything, but they're entitled to nothing. So
Yeah.
that's what the song's about.
Well, very cool. Killstar, Black Mark, Dead Hand, Pierced Heart. Steve, that song is a nightmare. That is a nightmare set to music, is the only way I could describe that and listen to that. There was such darkness to it, and I'm saying this all in a very positive way, is what I'm saying,
Well, it's all
complimentary way.
yes,
What a nightmare set to music.
yeah, it's all done with fun in mind. I mean, it goes back to what I was mentioning before about the whole concept of like like a movie, like a horror movie soundtrack.
Yeah,
When I came up with the idea of it, I'm like, man, I want to do something like very kind of old school, like Vincent Price, old school horror movies that I used to love as a kid. They weren't like, they weren't big on the gore and the slashing and the killing. It was more, the subliminal mental thing. You know what I mean?
definitely.
Where you got that spooky vibe from the whole movie, and then the whole intro was like me butchering some kind of like, I don't know, version of Latin and whatever else, and I put that whole concept together, and I wanted to go with that. It just basically tells the story is just is about it's about a girl that was born into a coven of witches, and she was born with the mark of the devil, whatever they used to call that back then, a birthmark or some shit. So in order to rebel against her family, she joins a convent of nuns and becomes a Christian to rebel against her family of witches. But then she realizes that she really can't escape her past. She can't escape with who she is, and she goes back to her life with the witches or whatever. And so I just kind of had that concept in my mind. That became what the cover's all about. Is like she wanted to go on, but she becomes what she is, and that is just how I kind of came up with the concept of that, and just made it it was just appropriate with the music and the kind of like sinister feel and the kind of evil riff. It fit perfectly together.
Great stuff. Get in line. There's some lyrics in here that really I were heavy once I read them and I thought about them. Particularly this one line is, "You won't resist. You're useless. Dead fish follow the stream." That dead fish follow the stream. I had never heard that at all. Did that come to you? Is that an expression you knew? I've never heard that line.
I've read the expression before. I think I read the expression somewhere actually on, I don't know, it was like, actually there's, when I think about this now, there's actually a company that produces clothes, and they're called Killstar. I remember seeing that they had like some kind of like weird, shirts and stuff like that. And then I think they had that phrase on there. I was like, oh, that's actually a really cool phrase, because that is true. I mean,
Yeah.
As we fight against, things in life, we are the fish that, swim upstream, like much like a salmon. But once you die, you just go down the drain, man. And they're just going down the drain. But I mean, that song was, definitely, you get the sense it was definitely written about the whole, the COVID shit show, what was going on. It's pretty topical in the sense that, they were expecting people just to get in line and do what they were told, which I think is, I just think is so uncool. I mean, I think that's everybody's choice, and I think everybody should have the choice to, to do what they want to do. Whether I think it's right or wrong, it's not really my, right to tell you what's right or wrong. It's up to you to decide. But I think, having the freedom of will is more important than anything. So
yeah, definitely. And of course, the final track, "Devil to Miss the Flame," perfect outro. I love the panning on the guitars, on the intro and stuff. It was really cool. I was listening through headphones. Took me back to like the first time I ever heard "A Whole Lot of Love" by Zeppelin, and I love it. That was a great touch on that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the band a little bit. Give us sort of a short, a stream of consciousness. First thing you think about, a line or two about each member. Let's talk about your vocalist, Chalice.
Ridiculous name.
Okay.
His real name is Brian, and he's like, "Hey man, I just want to use the stage name Chalice." So I'm like, "Okay, man." So I really can't wrap my head around that, because I just can't call you Chalice because it seems so ridiculous. So we call him Cholito because it rhymes with burrito. I'm like, burrito, Cholito, good to go. So that would be the, but not just, a great singer. I mean, he really has, been the, the frosting on the turd, for this, for whatever we got going on.
Very
Because
cool.
his vocals are very much what you would expect from this kind of music, but they're kind of different at the same time. He has so many different, um, nuances and reflections in his voice. He can sing, he
Mhm.
can scream, he can do a lot, and that's that for me. The way that I like to write is like, hey man, I think if we need to do a really soft, melodic part, and sing it, and then he can do that. But if you need to scream and do something like really heavy, like a death metal type, growl, he can do that too. So I mean, so that makes it a lot easier to write and make the tunes, varied.
Cool.
Uh,
How about Seamus, your drummer?
Seamus is a great kid. I mean, so he's the youngest guy in the band, and he's probably he's one of those kind of people that he's pivotal in the sense that he has a very good working relationship with me, and he's also very smart, and he's also he gets things done, and he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and he's the engine of the whole thing. I mean, so it's like fantastic drummer. So I don't really have to like discuss much with him about what he's going to do playing wise and whatnot. He pretty much gets it done. Is very proficient, very professional. So that's important for drummers, because drummers sometimes can be a crapshoot. I mean, he might be a great guy, but then when you get him under a microscope, their playing's horrible.
Right.
But he's definitely not that. So it's cool.
Excellent. How about David on bass?
David's a great guy. He's kind of more of the flamboyant one in the band. He's got the more like pretty strong imagery, and he's kind of the newest member that we've got involved.
Mm.
So I end up playing quite a bit of bass on the record, because sometimes it's just easier for me to just do it than have him try to translate it. But I mean, as far as he's a great solid guy. He's a very enthusiastic person. He's he's a nice guy to boot, and he's got a really cool image. He fleshes out the band. I mean, me being the ugliest guy in the band, I gotta have somebody have somebody else who looks good on the other side.
There you go. Let's do a little bit of This Is Your Life. Tell me what was going through your mind. Your first album you bought was Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, right?
Yep,
What was
definitely.
going through your mind when you dropped the needles on that to hear that for the first time?
I was blown away, because I would exactly remember the first song I heard was "Funeral for a Friend." I think that was the first song on, I don't know, maybe the first side or the second side, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was totally blown away with the just. I mean, I thought what a great record I picked. Now when I look back on it, because I mean, just the level of musicianship and writing, and I mean, Elton was just like amazing at that point in his career, and I just like thought that was fantastic. And then that kind of like, gave me, I mean, I was, as a kid, I was already kind of into music quite a bit. I was like, another interview I did, somebody, the guy was like, what was your favorite toy as a kid? I'm like, looking back, I was like, probably my little record player. I kept putting like George of the Jungle or some shit on my little 45, just listening to that crap. I probably listened to a
Yeah.
lot of music. Yeah. So I think that was pretty good indication where I was going to end up going.
Cool. Then after what sort of did you have like siblings that pointed you in a direction, or is this just where you gravitated naturally, or you listened to the radio, you had parents, your musical family?
It was nobody in my family is musical at all. Nobody plays anything. I think that was probably a combination of stuff I heard on the radio. I had a couple aunts that they had some pretty good record collections. I do have some good memories of going to one of my aunt's houses. We were staying in a room. My grandparents were taking care of us, and I was going through her record collection. And I do remember she had Rainbow Rising. And I remember
Oh,
taking that out as a kid, and I put that on, and I was just like, "Whoa!" I mean, Richie Blackmore's one of my favorite guitar players ever. Is probably is an idol. I just
yeah.
remember just going, "Wow, listen to that! That's incredible!" And then hearing Dio's voice, and then so yeah, between Elton John, the the Rainbow, I was big Michael Schenker fan too. I love UFO.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that kind of always, and we always I was obviously in stuff like like Boston and
Yeah.
Foreigner. A lot of the stuff that was played on the radio was very
Sure.
influential at the time. Before I got into the heavier stuff, it was just the hard rock Journey, you
Right.
know, just that great guitar playing, great songwriting type stuff.
Gotta ask you this.
Yeah.
Van Halen 1 or Van Halen 2? Which album do you lean towards?
It's gonna be Van Halen one for sure, because that was the shit. I just, between the two records, I love both the records. I think,
Yeah.
both have, and actually it wasn't too long ago, I was listening to Van Halen 2 on my old vinyl on
Yeah.
my record player. But I just think that the first record just had that guitar tone that just, changed the world. As
Mm,
far as hard rock and metal goes, it just like lit the world on fire. I mean, it's
yeah,
unbelievable stuff.
definitely. The other thing I want to talk to you about, you were there for the whole thrash, movement that started
Right.
out in San Francisco, the early days of Exodus, Testament, Vicious Rumors, and all that. You were just, a little bit behind them in age, but you were there for that whole thing. Did you have any idea what was going on there? This is equivalent to like the new wave of British heavy metal almost. Do you have any
I
clue what was happening, or were you just caught up in it all?
I would probably say no. I wasn't really aware of what was happening. It was just really cool to, to be able to go see a lot of bands. So probably like my favorite bands that came out of that era, that I was always a guy that tended to be a little bit more into, you know, a little bit more touches commercialism, melodicism, when it came to,
Hmm.
my metal. So I kind of really thought Vicious Rumors was a killer band. I still think they're a great band. Still write great music. I really was into the Digital Dictator and their first couple Atlantic records. I thought were great. One of my favorite Bay Area bands. Y&T,
Yeah.
definitely Y&T. Forbidden. When it comes to thrash, though, my favorite band from the Bay Area was Forbidden. I
Okay.
just thought their stuff was amazingly sinister and cool. The riffs were amazing. The singer Russ was just like the killerest thrash guy. As far as, I mean, he could sing his balls off and scream. Where, Testament, I always liked Testament. Thought Testament was great too, but to me they weren't, in the same, category of what I enjoyed, like with Forbidden. But I was like, then another band too that, I was really into, that kind of got me into the whole scene, was like, I was maybe like 15 or 16, was a band called Laz Rocket. I really thought Laz
Yes.
was amazingly good, man. I've seen them many times, and they were fantastic. And then I actually saw the first, the lineup of Metallica open up for them. So
Wow.
it was a small club on a Monday night. Metallica came out. I mean, Metallica wiped the ground with Last Rocket that night. I mean, it was just like, after seeing that, I was like, holy! I mean, Dave Mustaine and Rama. I mean, just the original lineup. I mean, but they were just fantastic, great band. But
Man.
yeah, I mean, now I look back and I was like, it was really cool. But I
Yeah.
was, as a kid, I grew up in San Jose, California.
Okay.
And we're talking the Bay Area. We're only talking about it was mainly the East Bay, which is kind of like the Oakland, Berkeley areas where all these bands kind of were, kind of bouncing out of. I mean, San Francisco was just kind of like, landing point because of some of the clubs, but most of the bands were not even from San Francisco. They were from the East Bay.
Mm.
And I mean, we're talking 40, 45 miles away. And when you're 16, it's like it's an enormous,
Yeah.
amount of space to drive and deal with, because before you have a car and stuff. So I wasn't really, involved in that too much, because I didn't get to hang around those guys. And I'm sure if I would have lived in the area, it would have been completely different. But that was just, what it was.
Yeah. Very cool. Chatting with Steve Rice of Kill Ritual tonight. Their new album, Killstar Black Mark Dead Hand Pierced Heart, coming out November 18th on Massacre Records. Check it out. Steve, I always end with some fun questions. I'm hoping you're in for
Sure.
this. The other
Yep.
guy already took one of them, their favorite toy as a child. Uh, so I'll try and hit you with some other ones. Now, you also cook in your spare time, correct?
Correct. I love to cook. That's one of my, if I didn't play music, I would be in the culinary arts. That's for sure.
What is your favorite dish to prepare?
Oh wow, that's a good one, man. I mean, I'm probably my favorite dish of all time was probably going to be. Let me just think of this one. Anyway, it was probably like a Spanish chicken dish with olives and sausages and chorizo and stuff.
Nice. Now, if you could go back in time, though, and take a night off from cooking and have your mom cook one of your favorite childhood meals, what would you pick?
It definitely wouldn't be cream tuna on toast. I got to tell you that right
Okay.
now. Oh, probably one of my favorite dishes as a child is I just love corned beef, and I love the Irish corned beef and hash with cabbage and carrots. I really
Yeah.
like
Hey,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
you like what you like. All right. Now, we're both old enough to go back in time to rotary phones and no caller ID and all this stuff. Have you ever prank called someone?
Oh, yeah, I've definitely done that. So,
Okay. Let's see. Favorite old school wrestler.
favorite old school wrestler.
Yeah.
I never was really into the wrestling crap too much, but when my son, he was really into wrestling, but the guy that what's that one guy? He was really into this one guy. Oh, the Undertaker.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought
The
that,
Undertaker.
that fit the whole metal thing. So I'm like, perfect.
Absolutely. If you could pick a television show to have a Kill Ritual song, say off the new album, placed in, what show would you pick?
No, All in the Family.
All in the Family?
That would be perfect, man. It's like, what the hell is? Yeah, I just can see Archie go, "What the hell is this crap?"
What is a day off from music like for you? If you take a day off from music, what do you do?
I mean, it's just I had I had the kids, the wife, the family. If I'm not dealing with music, I'm usually dealing with some, like like tomorrow I got to go up to my attic and figure out why my heater's not working, or fixing
Okay.
something around the house. I seem to do that a lot.
Very
It's a
cool.
good thing I'm capable of having some ability to fix things, so I do that a lot.
All right. What is the oddest job you have ever held?
Oddest job.
Yeah.
Wow. I wouldn't say it was odd, but probably the first job I ever had was just um, oddest job. Let me think about what was really odd. Oh yeah, I never really had
No.
a seriously odd job.
Okay.
A poor star. That was a little odd, but
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It could be. Yeah. Yeah.
but
That's right.
but
You were the double for Ron Jeremy, correct?
no, I was actually the double for the midget because it was a midget porn, but
Okay.
only from the waist down. But
Um,
no, I don't think I never really had an odd job. I always have some pretty conventional jobs.
okay. All right. Most cherished possession.
Oh, most cherished possession would probably be, be my family, man.
Okay. All right. Now, all right. We'll stick with family for a little bit then.
Yeah.
If you could go, would you rather go back in time and meet your ancestors, or forward in time and meet your great 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 grandchildren?
Forward.
Forward.
I think the past is the past. Future is much more interesting.
Okay. Last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you pick to play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be interesting. How about Jabba the Hutt? Can he do it for me?
Absolutely. It's your life. It's your life.
I'm going to probably end up looking like him anyways, with all the cooking and
Yeah.
losing my hair. I'll probably end up being a big fat worm. So that's probably the best.
Oh, going forward, album comes out here in the States on November 18th. What's in the near future for Kill Ritual?
Definitely going to be doing some touring and playing next year. Hopefully that things are kind of finally coming together. We'll see how the economy and inflation is going. Hopefully, like I said, diesel fuel's not $95 a gallon. We can actually get a bus or whatever. But yeah, definitely the band will be proactive in both endings. We'll probably end up doing some stuff in the States first, and then hopefully Europe, later in the year.
Excellent. Steve, is there anything we didn't talk about? I didn't ask you anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to. The floor is yours.
Well, you didn't ask me what flowers I like, what my favorite color is.
Okay.
Favorite flower is definitely a daisy, and then my favorite color is orange. So
Okay.
I think we're all good now.
We got it covered. Excellent. Wish you much success in the future. Once you get out on tour, may all your travels be safe. May all your shows be sold out.
Appreciate it, Lance. Thanks for your time, buddy.
All right. Take care, Steve. Thank you very much.
Okay. Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.